down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Hey, welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. We have a special guest with us tonight, Channing Smithson, right over here down below from Vessel. Art is a doorway. What is up, Channing? Great to have you here with us. Tonight, we are going to be talking about Flare Finance, not to be confused with Flare Network, but Flare Finance is exciting because Flare Finance, and you can earn, you can mine, you can wrap, you can borrow. There is so much to go on with Flare Finance, and we're going to dig into all of that and more right now.
Are you
right now?
Come on, Channing, you gotta get that. You gotta get the hand ready. Ready?
Ready?
Let's go.
And now, the roundtable with Jeff and Chip on the chain.
There we
That's
go.
awesome.
Let's go.
I love
Bamity
that.
bam.
Welcome, man. It's great to have you here with us tonight, Channing. It has been a little bit. I know we've been planning this chat to talk about Flare Finance
18 months.
For like 18 months, right? for the past couple months. Glad we're finally. I think now though is like the opportune time. I think people are like geared up. People know about Flare Network. Now we're going to dig into the Flare Finance, and DeFi is starting to blow up all over the place. And there's so many people, even in the mainstream, talking about decentralized finance. So we need to get into this.
Hey, well, you know, it's a privilege, man, to be on the show, and it's good to see both of your faces.
No, let's not get that far, Channing. Let's not get crazy now, okay? It's okay, man. It's not that great. I mean, it's okay, but no, it's good to see you. Well, last 2 times we had you on, we were like, yeah, listen, Channing, he's going to go into this whole Flare. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about Flare finance. And then we got sidetracked. I blame it on Jeff. He got us sidetracked. But today we're going to dive in and hey, just like as an opener, like what's your take on this whole Flare finance and what the opportunity there is, and where do you see this going?
You know, it is a phenomenal program. You know, shout out to Hugo Filion, you know, for just creating this environment with the Flare networks. You know, the Flare finance itself is an amazing rollout. The way they have things set up, it's very, you know, clean when you get into it. You know, when you start to actually swap, you start to actually use the liquidity tool. It's amazing, guys. You know, it's going to be a lot of people making some good money in this new.
I like the sound of that. I'm sorry. What did you say? Did you say something about making good what? I'm a good what? I like the sound of it. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. That's what we'll do. We're going to make some good cha-ching. Man, that sounds good to me.
We need to get some sound effects in here. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, that would be fun, right?
That'd be awesome. That'd be sweet. So this is great. You know, like I was saying, you know, as we talk about so many of these different projects, things are advancing. You know, and right now, obviously, we talk a lot about XRP on this show. We talk about some of the other assets. Getting into this DeFi space, I think, is a little bit, you know, daunting, a little bit confusing for people. Even on the Flare network side, you know, there have been multiple people said, hey, you know, how are we going to do it? What's the wallet going to look like? How do you simplify it? How do you make it accessible for everybody? And now digging into the Flare finance, I believe, though, as you understand one, you start to begin at least to understand all the others, right? And they seem to be following a very similar format.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I want to give a shout out to Indy with Deep Space Flare. I was able to have a really good discussion with him earlier. And when the Flare Finance rolled out, we have a Discord. He really suggested that everyone here listening into the show log into the Discord, because inside of that Discord, you have a lot of moderators who will basically help guide you through the process of getting your account set up. But, you know, doing that discussion, you know, I honestly learned a lot from him, you know, in regards to how to actually get the account set up. Now, that was difficult, but once you got it set up, you know, it was just smooth sailing after that.
Yeah, you know what? I was listening to XRP Bags made a video on going through and setting up the account, and I was out walking early this morning listening to it. I said, I'm going to get some tidbits. It's something you definitely 100% have to be in front of your computer. You know, so I was listening to him go through all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, it does seem a little complex, but as you go through the MetaMask setup and do like a custom setup, maybe not as difficult, but that's something I think would be a great standalone video. And, you know, you guys definitely check out XRP Bags, the way he did it. I thought that was helpful. We'll have to see a couple others, but as we get into this space, let's look at this. You know, because I know Chip and I both, we look at the decentralized space, and you know, it's a great opportunity for people to try to earn passive income, but it's confusing, right? I mean, it does seem, and I see Apex in here was saying that he's invested in DeFi and he's still confused. You know, but it just seems a little bit confusing.
We're all confused. Look at this. So
look at that.
No, so it was funny because yesterday I spun up. You know, everyone's heard of Clubhouse, right? So it's a separate app. It's iOS only. So yesterday, it just had a little bit of time. I spun up a quick Spaces is what it's called. It's like Clubhouse. So it's audio only on Twitter. And Apex was in there, so it was really cool talking to Apex. Jungle Inc. was in there. Ross was in there. There's a whole bunch of people. Ben, there's just a lot of people that usually listen, and there was like 35 people listening, and it was really fun to listen to some of the talk. We got into Flare and a little bit of the DeFi space, and the opportunity to Never tell. Yeah, thank you, Joni. I really appreciate, Joni's been a great supporter of the show, and we always appreciate that. But we got into a lot of stuff, and as it would be, there's some really experienced people that were talking about what they were doing or what they're getting ready for, and I think the big question is where do people see this going? Because obviously, with Flare dropping the Spark token, we're expecting to see 15%. And then, but Flare Finance itself, like it has like yield farming on there. You can do, you can borrow. Also insurance, the way they're looking at insurance, which is you can kind of pool everybody together and sort of de-risk, like a normal insurance. Everyone pools their stuff together, right? So where do you see this going, or what should we be looking out for?
A good hint is if you look at Hugo Filion, his recent interview, I believe it was with Cast. I have to get the name out. I'll figure out the name.
Saw some of that. I saw a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he touched in on actually real estate, which is really exciting. Tokenizing real estate. One of the things that Hugo is focused in on, if you've seen some of his recent interviews, he's talking a lot about gaming as well. Now, that gets you really exciting, man, because when you just imagine these guys are going to be earning crypto on the blockchain by playing video games. Can you imagine
awesome.
that?
I like that.
That's outstanding.
Well, it is, but I got to. Well, I mean, just for us, Channing, I mean, people watch the show. It's so funny, on Uphold always sends us a video once it makes a deposit. So as a streaming video, so anybody watching right now with the Coil subscription, just the fact that they're watching, and we appreciate it so much, but we'll earn, anywhere from, 0.9 or 1.4, 1.8, depends how many people watch with the Coil subscription. But I mean, they're just watching the video. So it's that sort of a thing, playing a video game, getting a reward, earning crypto. It's like, wow, what is about to happen is the transfer of things that go out there with companies. You're sort of eliminating a lot of that and bringing it into an ecosystem where the players and the people directly can benefit, where before it was sort of it was more centralized around companies that you pay them and they give you this. But now the way NFTs are playing a role, especially, the way they're going to play a role, you might get a skin as an NFT. It'll be pretty interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting, man. Now, when you talk about video games, now the average adult just kind of frowns at that, or they may look, the other way and think it's just, play. But now, mind you, some of these guys who are on these video games are making, close to 2 to 3 million a year annually.
Some of the pros.
What? Yeah, the pros are, yeah.
When we're talking about gaming, that is a big deal. Now, I don't want to, put too much emphasis on what we're doing, but we had the pleasure of actually interviewing the CMO over Gala Games, Jason Brink. He told me to give you guys a shout out, by the way.
Well, that's awesome. We'd love to get him on too here.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see if we can make that happen. But Jason, he's talking about some of the new games that they have, some of the new shooters even. There's a new one that they're actually implementing out, Miranda's, which is phenomenal. I would highly recommend everyone just look at that thing. Just click on it. Just check it out.
What is it called?
It is amazing.
Someone, I want to pull it up here.
Miranda's. And his platform, here with Gala Games is doing something obviously with the Flare networks and also BitTrue. So that connection, that partnership is gonna just blow things away, guys. And I don't mean to sound too hyped up. Obviously, I'm bullish. I would highly recommend right now. This is not financial advice. Once again, all right.
Well, it sounds like financial advice to me. It's really weird, Channing. He always says it's not financial advice. I'm like, man, that sounds like. Hang on a second. Let me write that down because that sounds like some amazing financial advice.
Yeah,
or at least a good tip. We'll call it tips.
It's a tip.
It's a tip.
It's a nice tip. I like it. What was it again?
I have it right here, Jeff.
Let
me pull it up. Tell me if this is it. Is that it right there, Miranda's?
That's it.
Yeah, look at that. Looks badass. I got to be honest with you. So, yeah, I go way back. I love these shooter games. I love all this stuff. And I had to give up gaming because I have that weird thing that says that I can't stop. Like there's always one more level, one more game, one more this, one more that, one more play, one more team, one more. It was always like one more thing, and then like I just didn't do anything. So, but
And then it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh shit, got to get
and you're
up.
shot. You're
Yep.
shot. You're like, but you know what, Jeff? Maybe just hang on a second. I'm so close. Just one more. You know, it's like, but maybe this is a good excuse to get back into gaming. Look at this though; it does look really phenomenal, man.
And you know, I want to say something. Earlier, you mentioned NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Now, Jason mentioned that they're actually going to be selling a lot of NFTs. They're actually branching off into artwork as well. So
I
a lot
see it
of
right
artists
here.
will be able to sell. Yeah, they'll be able to actually sell some of their artwork through Gala. Well, not selling their artwork through Gala, but actually creating NFTs through Gala so that they can actually put those on OpenSea or some of these other websites. You know, and that really gets you excited, man, because one of those NFTs in Gala actually sold for 1.6 million. Just
Yeah,
one NFT
Well,
through
you saw
Gala.
Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey put his very first tweet up there as an NFT, and the auction is currently at $2.5 million. I thought it sold yesterday at 2, and then I wake up today, it was 2.5 million. I was like, oh, I missed my chance to get my bid in. But
If you ask me about Jack Dorsey's first tweet, you know what you're gonna get from me? I don't
cares?
give a rat's behind. I could care less about that. That does not interest me one bit. But it's cool though. I think it's awesome. I do love the idea. I love when Mark Cuban put a tweet out there. I love what Mark Cuban's been doing in the space because he went and did a couple of his tweets, and you know, but he took it all and donated it to charity. Like it's like he's like, yeah, I got a lot of money for it, but I'm giving it. So to me, that's a pretty good use of doing that. I think Dorsey's going to donate it to charity too, so I got to give him props for that. But you know, the whole idea of, you know, let's see, Kings of Leon, right, doing their, and now you had this big dust up. You had Lily Allen, who's an artist, you know, a music artist from the UK, talking about, you know, possibly releasing her next album as an NFT. Now that always kind of that's where Channing, we need to dig deeper on that because. You know, with the music side of it, it's like, okay, you own what? Do you own the rights to the music itself? Do you own what part of that do you own? Because music is complicated. You know, one of the famous things that happened, you know, many years ago when Michael Jackson purchased Paul McCartney's or the Beatles sound album, you know, he outbid him. Well, all of a sudden, Beatles songs started appearing in everything. And, you know, Michael Jackson was, you know, at heart, he was a great business guy, and he was making so much money just licensing the music. And I want to know if Kings of Leon, where Lily Allen puts this on the blockchain, you know, as an NFT, do you control the? I mean, what do you actually own? That's what I'm not.
Depends. Probably depends what they're putting up, because they can put up and specify they're putting up the rights to it, or it could be, you know, just like a radio station is paying, you know, X amount every time they play it. Maybe you pay in advance and you own the rights to it or whatever it might be to play it, but you're not the only one that owns the rights to play it.
Excellent.
So look at this, you know, I think this is a sentiment of the community. You know, Joni's saying I'm so behind with the knowledge of Flare and passive income and everything, you know. So looking for videos of the right thing, it's so new right now, but I see that that's a sentiment of the community. I see a lot of that. You know, and Jeff and I have dug pretty deep into it too, and it's so exciting. But man, today I spent like hours just researching, looking at, there's so much stuff out there that it like mind blown. It's like it's so deep, and you go down some of these rabbit holes, and you're like, wow, what's gonna, you know, DeFi, what's happening on the XRPL with Flare Finance, you know, with Flare, all of these other projects that will be built around that Flare ecosystem. Is really, I mean, do you think that that's going to unseat a lot of what's happening on Ethereum?
You know,
as far as smart contracts,
I love smart contracts. You know, Ethereum is awesome. I got really excited when I heard about reserve rights. At the time, I think it was like at 0.0001 or something like that, and I wanted to buy like a ton of that thing before it got on Coinbase. So just to tell you a little story here, man, I went ahead and I put in $100 on MetaMask in order to buy it. They charged me $40 in Ethereum fees. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Afterwards, it took about 7 minutes for the actual transaction to go through. And guess what? It canceled it actually told me I had insufficient funds. So
Oh
guess what?
man.
MetaMask charged me for the fees, right? And I still didn't get my reserve rights. I was upset, man. Now versus when we look at this clear situation that's going on with the Flare networks, with Flare Finance, you're getting charged a drop, okay? And this is being done on the Y Flare.
Hmm.
When we say a drop, we're talking about 0.0001. Okay, that's when you transfer $100 in USDT, you bring it over to USD, you get charged just a drop. So maybe instead of $100, you'll have 99.9999999.
Yeah, well, that's a big deal. I was working with a friend of mine yesterday, and he's investing in digital asset. Just started getting him into it. Got him into XRP yesterday. I got him into more XRP, and he's going to start investing in other projects. But one of the things that we did was buy, I helped him buy USDC on Coinbase and then move it over to Celsius. Now we get the USDC on Coinbase, no transaction fee. Moved it over to Celsius, and he looks at the thing, and it says, "Oh, there's a transaction fee," and he said, "What's this transaction fee?" And I was explaining it was relatively small, but it was still a big trade. Overall is bigger. It's not one drop. It's like $4 or $5 in that just a transaction, to move. I think, and this was the other part where once you get into DeFi, I think there's going to be some more flexibility, but there's definitely some limitations that we can see right now. One of the things that you look at, let's say you're moving money over to Uphold, you want to make sure that you're under the $10,000 threshold. Yeah, it should be pretty much with any of them, but they have like a $10,000 threshold, 15,000, whatever the max threshold is. You got to make sure you're underneath it. Otherwise, I was moving money over to Uphold, and all of a sudden, I got notified that my account was was being not suspended, but was being, whatever, looked at, and it was on hold for a little while. I had to reach out to them, got it resolved, no big deal. But there's definitely some AML KYC guidelines on these platforms. But sometimes it's easy, sometimes not so easy. But that's why I'm looking at this and seeing what the opportunity is going to be moving over to the DeFi space. And let me pull this up, because I think as we get into this here, people should kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. I don't know why I can't. I'm trying to zoom it. There we go. So as we're looking at Flare Finance,
Did you zoom it like? Did you zoom it like 1% there?
I did. Yeah, it was perfect.
I was like, what the? I was like, that's so much better, Jeff.
Isn't it? You can see it so much better. I didn't want to zoom too much because then it cut it out of the screen.
Well, just
it wasn't like keeping it in the screen here. So all right. So there's 6 categories. You have the Flare X, you have Flare Farm, Flare Wrap, Flare Loans, Flare Mutual. I think the Flare Mutual is pretty cool, and Flare Mine. So as we get into these, let's try to break them down a little bit, get a little bit of an understanding with each one of these categories. And in all of this, there's a way to actually earn passive income. And I think it comes straight out with the Flare X. But let's go over Flare X. I mean, as you've dug into it, what is your understanding of Flare X, and how exactly does somebody earn passive income by helping to provide liquidity? What does all that really mean?
So when we get into the DeFi space with Flare Networks and Flare Finance, what we're basically doing now, Mickey really broke things down really simply. I'm not no rocket scientist or anything, I just watch the videos. But one of the things that he brought out was, and I read the white papers, obviously, is that basically when we're exchanging our assets into the Flare Finance and the Flare networks, we're actually taking some of these assets off of the exchanges and we're bringing them into the Flare X, the Flare Finance, and also the Flare networks. And when we do that, we're actually earning passive income because we're being rewarded in the governance token. Does that make sense? So if you can imagine, you're going from XRP to FXRP. So when you actually exchange in the world of wrap Bitcoin or wrapped Ethereum, they don't have like this same type of science, because what we're talking about is taking the XRP, minting it over into an FXRP, and actually when that happens, we start to earn Spark or YFIN. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we actually earn some of the governance token. So with that, that's going to bring a tremendous amount of wealth to the actual platform, if you think about it, because for one of the first times, Dogecoin is actually Snoop Dogecoin, right? Is actually going to get some utility now, and even assets like LTC, we see that XLM has some utility as well, a phenomenal utility. But some of these other assets like BTC, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, they're actually going to be able to get some type of utility, in that they're going to be earning us yield when we mint them over into the platform.
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah, just want to. Yeah, you got it. Awesome.
Yeah, I want to put this up there because this is what I see going on in the community. But XRP Hollywood, thank you for that. He says, I'd love to bring my laptop to a class where a teacher can walk me through the entire Flare Finance platform to make passive income using my XRP and Spark. Can someone set this up? I will pay.
That's a great one. We're actually putting together a meetup, and it's going to be another on the chain sponsored meetup that we're doing at the end of this month, actually March 28th. But from that idea, it wouldn't be bad to create kind of a small group, because you can sit at a table, in this virtual environment, and we can put up a shared screen and maybe we'll work on putting something like that together, where we can all kind of walk through the process of what that would look like. Not a bad idea.
No, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But let me ask you this, Channing. So as we're looking at Flare Finance right now, and there's these different categories within it, then we have Flare Network. The two are separate entities completely. So you have Flare Finance, you have Flare Network, but there seems to be a little bit of a crossover. Is there a crossover in terms of the way Flare Finance is operating? It's working within the Flare Network ecosystem. Is that what it is?
Yeah, definitely. So what the Flare Networks is, obviously, this is just for the audience. The Flare Networks in itself is its own blockchain. Flare Finance is actually a decentralized app, or DApp. So it's the same thing when we think about Polkadot. If you think about Ethereum, they're their own blockchains, but then there's these decentralized apps that hop off of the actual mainframe, which is the blockchain Flare Networks. So one of the exciting things about this, if you've been noticing in the space, and actually when I've been on a Discord, they've actually been talking about there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of decentralized apps coming off of the Flare Networks. The same way when we think about Polkadot, you have Polka Starters, Polka this, Polka that, right? With Ethereum, you have Chainlink, you have Maker, you have Compound. It's the same thing. These decentralized apps are actually going to be created off of the Flare Networks, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So when you think about, to answer your question, I'm sorry, they'll be actually able to actually cross network. So when you're in the Flare Finance, you'll be able to get back into assets in the Flare Networks as well. So you can unwrap things. So let's say you wrap the XRP into an FXRP. Well, if you want to unwrap it, it will go back to XRP, obviously, right? And you'll take obviously a small fee as well. Did we lose Jeff Chip?
Yeah, I think he had to pop back in. He's coming back in.
Click the wrong button.
That happens to me. I mean, it happens sometimes. 1 minute you're in, next minute you're like, what the hell happened?
You know what the thing is? The Flare Finance website, all that moving stuff in the background,
It's heavy.
It's consuming a ridiculous amount of space, and I have to keep moving to a blank tab, because I've got all these. I can't believe how heavy it is. I mean, that's insane. I don't know what they're running that would consume that much power or memory, and I've got a lot of memory, so I don't. Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was funny because I saw, if you guys follow Minus Wells, he was in that Spaces chat yesterday, and he was saying he's going to earn, his goal is to earn $500,000 a year in passive income on the Flare ecosystem, which I think, I mean, based on the way he's talking, this is great news. I mean, this is great to hear how, we went from buying, digital assets to holding them, then DeFi started taking off. And if you didn't get into some certain projects, it's kind of like a little of a minority sort of a group. But now that we have this coming and it's built on the XRPL, Joni was saying earlier in the chat, she was saying how I'm going to see if I can find this one. My gosh, I don't know if I can find it, but she was basically saying how she was trying to move. Let's see, here it is. Let's see. Gosh. Yeah. Anyway, she was trying, here it is right here. Look, she says, I moved 1,000 amp, which is about $24 worth, and the freaking ETH gas fee was $20. And all she wanted to do was buy ice cream with her amp on her credit card. So yeah, it is scary. And the problem with this, it's interesting to see what's going to end up happening with Ether, right? Because they're supposedly moving to this 2.0, but man, I don't know when that's going to happen. But I can tell you that when, all of this stuff with the gas fees and the smart contracts over there, but just the whole decentralized finance, you're eliminating all these insane fees. And what are you doing? You're loading up on the passive income, right? Because if you're, just on Flare regular, you're going ahead and you're putting in 2.5 times collateral, and either way you're going to get paid, right? And so the Flare finance is super exciting. I even like the way this whole sort of that pool, so you can pool and mitigate risk. That's interesting in itself. Like I think that's going to be that could set a trend for what's to come, right? Because if you mitigate risk as a bunch of people coming together, certainly could be better than there it is right there, Jeff. It's
the Flare Mutual.
Flare Mutual, the fund that allows people to share risk together. There you go, without the need for an insurance company. So this is the kind of stuff. And what I like about what's happening is everything's becoming decentralized. There were some tweets going around a little bit earlier tonight. I saw John Deaton was tweeting. A bunch of people were tweeting about, what government, how government supposedly goes to represent the people. But guess what's going to eliminate all that? Decentralization. People have their own vote. People can say yay or nay. They don't. This isn't 19. This isn't 19. Or I should say 1700, where you just go. You send somebody to this major to the city, and they're gonna work on your behalf. Well, guess what? Decentralization. Everyone has a vote on the blockchain. I mean, it's gonna it could have the possibility of unseating politicians, because let the people have their voices heard. Right? When everything becomes decentralized, everybody wins, because then you start losing the whole control thing, the censorship thing, all of those weird things go out the window, and it just strips it down to its bare bones of what it is, right?
Well, think about the possibilities here with smart contracts and NFTs. Imagine if you're able to think about from a voting perspective. Let me go back to this. It's taking a lot of resources, but think about a combination of the NFT, because it's a one of a kind, right? It's going to get serialized as an NFT. Your vote, so your vote is now it's now serialized on the blockchain, backed up with an NFT. That's the receipt on it. That makes it authentic. And you have a smart contract, and then you have all of your data, which at some point we have to agree that everybody's going to share their information on the blockchain, because at the end of the day, it helps, unite all of the different systems, the federal systems, the state systems. We're crossing over some barriers, some lines here into invasion of privacy. But the thing is that, there are other mechanisms through decentralization which allow us to benefit from the sharing of our data. And we should be able to decide when we share our data. And there's all these other things that are going to go into it. We should be able to get compensated, through systems like this, through a decentralized system, we're already seeing, a lot of resistance and pushback against Google and Facebook and Twitter and all those others that are using and abusing our data right now to make money. And we saw the governor of Florida has come out, really strong right now on that. We've seen other countries coming out very aggressive against that sort of thing. And then you have to figure out, how are you going to control all of this ebb and flow of our data to our benefit? Well, DeFi in so many different ways. And this is gonna revolutionize, Chip, and Channing, the way you got, what we're just talking about. I mean, decentralization, it's going to be the wave of the future, and it's right here. It's maybe not in the next election cycle, maybe not in 2022, maybe not in 2024, but it's going to happen in the near future if they don't crush all of this, which they can't. It's out of the box. This has got to keep growing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I will add on to what you were saying, man, is that you're going to be able to do it consistently. Now, one of the disadvantages of using Ethereum, and in no way I'm not dogging Ethereum. I love Ethereum and the advantages, with these smart contracts. But when you are inside of Ethereum, you're making transactions, just like Joni said. Occasionally, everybody jumped out.
We're here.
Well, we're still here. We just featured you, man. Just featured you.
Yeah, but definitely, what happens is that different times of the day, Ethereum gas fees, when it comes to the mining, those gas fees, they fluctuate, and that's understandable because some of the miners, they should get paid because they're actually creating energy, on their devices to get some of these things mined, and we appreciate that. But when you think about, if you're mining something in the daytime, maybe on a Monday, you're actually being charged like what, $50 to $150, versus at night you may only be charged like $20 to $30 for a gas fee. So there's some inconsistency there. But actually, with this new Byzantine network, when using the XRP ledger, we're actually going to get consistent things. So once again, thinking about our man, our new fella coming in, into the SEC, the internet of value, right? We always had the internet of things, but now we're going to get a consistent internet of value, programmable money that will actually be able to enter into digits into a system, and then it's going to consistently spit out a certain amount, right? The same thing with BitTrue when it comes to their staking. That if you're on BitTrue, if you've inputted some BTR into your system, you're going to get an additional 1, 2, 3%, right? And you're going to see 5.3%. So let's say if you have 15,000 of any coin, that means that you're going to get, let's say if you just put in maybe, but let me just throw out a number, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 BTR. That if you have 15,000 of any coin, you're going to get anywhere from 2 to 3 coins every day. Now, you can just imagine if that was BTC, right? So we're talking about programmable,
I can live with that,
internet of value, which is a beautiful thing.
I like it. Hey, just want to give a quick shout out to Ripple Rich here. Appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's the best thing. You mentioned this earlier. The fact that Doge now actually has a reason of being alive and being a real coin. People are like, oh, it has a use case. So you can accumulate as much as you want, and then it's going to be integrated into Flare. And there's going to be a bunch of things that are going to be, and I think it's going to finally come when Bitcoin, down the road or somewhere down the road, where these types of use cases will become sort of rather matter of fact, where it wasn't the original intention, but at some point you find another methodology. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the whole idea of earning passive income, before when you go to legacy stuff, it's like, well, yeah, insurance, become an insurance agent because, that person re-ups their insurance every year, and then you have X amount of people out there and they're all having insurance. You bring new people in, or you own real estate that creates a passive income. But now it's a whole different ball game in this new sort of game we have in the digital asset space, where we can actually take our investment, because we can take what we have and we can go ahead, like you said, 15,000 coins, you get a few coins a day. So how many times do you have 15,000 coins? How many times do you have, and now instead of spending that, you're now earning. And I think this is revolutionary. It's kind of what was behind the whole, I guess, the impetus for, the Celsius network with Alice Mashinsky, where he became, instead of having that middleman, he gave 80% of it away. He kept 20% himself, where the banks keep 99.99%. And the whole idea of getting away from the banks, this is interesting too, because as we see CBDCs get more released, the decentralization space is really going to crush it all, Channing. I mean, and Jeff, when we look at this whole space and we see what's happening, it's almost happening faster than I expected. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it, but I'm starting to see it increase every single day. Like it's getting a little bit nutty.
Yeah. I'll let Channing say something. I just got one quick statement before I'll let Channing say what he's about to say.
Come on, man, berserker.
Berserkers in here.
What's going on, man? What's good? But yeah, I was just gonna say, here we're earning all of this on your cell phone. All right. So you can be anywhere, you can be on a bus, you can be anywhere, and you're just passive income coming in, right? But obviously we have to watch the market. A lot of interesting things is with the Flare Finance that I found out was this whole thing of impertinence loss. I experienced it. And also triangular arbitrage. Now, that's something, if you guys want to talk about that maybe on another show, that'll be good. Actually just showing everyone how to prevent impertinence loss, right? And actually how to make use of certain logistics within the Flare Finance and also Flare networks. It's something that you want to watch because I experienced it overnight. I plugged in some of my coins and I looked up the next day and I was like, whoa, what happened? Well, a well happened, right? A well came in, bought up all the coins, rushed the price of Litecoin. And so I experienced some loss, but in exchange, I actually got more governance coin, which is the YFIN. So, just looking at some of these things, learning how to plug, your assets into, some of these platforms correctly, making use of the triangular arbitrage to actually get more assets and actually bringing them back into the equation, compounded interest, guys. And I'm gonna be honest, guys. When I got into the system, I was looking at some of the percentages. I mean, on BitTrue, you're looking at what, 12%. That's really good when you're trying to actually stake USDT. That's phenomenal, right?
Well, yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, where are you going to get 10-12% return on your dollar? You're not getting that anywhere.
You don't even get that in some mutual funds. I mean, in your 401k, you might be, when the stocks take a dump, it's like you're not going to get that. So that's the other world that I see is going to be upset by this whole thing, is that you have to allow people are putting money in every week for a 401k, but then they don't have freedom of choice there either. So they're, like suppose like the one I'm in right now, it's like, Jeff, I can't get into the ARK funds, Kathy Wood ARK funds. Yeah. And it's depressing. It's like, I almost feel like, let me just take it all out. Let me take a massive hit and penalty, and let me just go dump it in. Let me go invest it the way I want to invest it. It's like, because now we're getting into, oh no, these are the approved ones. These are the chosen sort of funds. And it's like, they're all garbage. They're not, a lot of them aren't even producing 12, 14%. To your point, Channing, it's like, so then what do? It's like, your money's not growing the way it should grow, especially when you're looking at, down the road and accessing it for retirement.
Yeah, that's it. And here's the other one. Like you have these different platforms. As you get to understand, Flare and the DeFi space, they have to really simplify the process, because mainstream, and obviously we're addressing that, and see a lot of people, they want a tutorial on how to get in and invest. So if you simplify the frame of how you get in, more people are going to get in on it. Right now, the returns are going to be greater if it's, I believe that, if it's harder to get in. But if you look at a platform like Celsius that Chip brought up, they're paying out 10.5 to 12% on stable coins. So you can put USDC, and Celsius is paying out 10.5%. Now the thing is, like you're bringing up on BitTrue, this is where it becomes, really interesting, because on Celsius right now, depending on where you are, you could be holding, USDC getting 10.5%, but you're taking your interest and you're getting your payout in the Cell token. As long as you hold 5% or more of your total portfolio on Celsius in Cell token, you'll get an additional 5% reward on your payouts, and it progressively goes up, up to like 25%. So if you have like 25% of your holding in Cell token, now as you get into some of these other networks like Flare, I mean, it's amazing. Like you brought up on BitTrue, if you're holding their native token, then you start to generate more interest. It's an extra reward system. I think it's amazing, because you go into the bank right now and you're just holding your money stagnant, because you've got, if you look at your if you look at your portfolios, you have, like Chip's talking about, you have your 401k, where you can earn, if you're limited, you can hopefully earn at least 20% or 30% if it's performance. Some of them you can't. Then you get into your IRAs. Some of those are performing on average, 25, 30, 35%. Some like ARC funds returned like 140% last year. So some of the Fidelity stuff, ETFs and mutual funds returned over 100%. But then you have your cash just sitting in the bank doing nothing, and you can move it over to a USDC, or you can move it over, to Flare, and then put it into an environment where it's being staked, where you're generating more interest, and then also being paid out another token. Like you were talking about, you got paid out in YFIN, the governance token, and there's just so much more. We're just scratching the surface with this, because we're not even talking about the mining pools or anything like that. So you have the yield mining, and you have all these other tokens. So the YFIN is yield farming and governance token. The Y Flare is exchange fee and governance token, and the Y Mine is yield mining and booster token, and that's all part of their ecosystem. And I'm trying to find, but can you talk a little bit about these different tokens and how they all interact in this ecosystem? What have you found out so far?
Yeah, so the Y Mutual, the whole thing with DeFi. Yeah, and shout out to GDLT.
Yeah, he said you were about to tell us all about the tremendous percentages on Flare Finance, and then I guess Jeff and I cut you off. Go ahead, man. Do your thing.
Just briefly, opening up the percentages in the Flare Finance were magnificent. Okay, now we talked about 17%. I was looking at what, 9,000%. Right. In some of the liquidity pools, yeah, I think I looked down, it was like close to 20 billion%. Now, obviously, those percentages are going to get dropped down once everything goes live. But as Mickey brought out really nicely in some of his episodes, those who actually get on to the platform initially in the first, let's say maybe 3 to 6 months, they're going to be actually able to earn the most yield. Now, what was I going to talk about?
Tell us about the tremendous percentages you can earn in Flare.finance. So I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, so in the first few months, obviously those percentages are going to go down, because when we got started with the public beta, the percentages started off at 9,000, and I think I just looked recently today. Let me look at it. Those percentages are down now to about. Hold on one second. Let me look it up, pull it up. I don't want to be speaking off the top of my head, but I think it's close to about maybe 4,000 to 5,000 roughly in percentages. But that's still really exciting, looking at, 1,185%, right? So we started off at about 9,000. Now we're going down to, close to maybe 1,200.
That's insane.
But those percentages are still nice, man. Compounding interest, if you think about it, initially when we get started. So that's one of the things when Indy, he told me, is just to, tell everybody, let's say maybe if you're having problems, just get on the Discord with Flare Finance. You'll see that a lot of those people, those moderators, some of these guys are bankers. Some of these guys are different individuals who've actually been developers in the network, so they understand how to actually get things up and going. And I asked all the stupid questions, guys. So feel free to jump on in and ask some more. Now, to answer your question, Jeff, about the different coins. So you do have the Flare Mutual. Back in the day, when the DeFi space first started off, a lot of these coins, you had hot dog coin and broccoli coin and sushi. Well, we still have sushi swap, right?
Sushi swap.
Pancake swap. All these different coins. When they first came out, we saw some of the CEOs just pull out, and many of the DeFi coins actually just tanked. So in the Flare Mutual, what that actually does is that provides a form of insurance. So when others actually try to build on the space in Flare Finance, you'll see that that Flare Mutual will actually kick in. And some of the other things too, like you mentioned, Flare mining. People are gonna, as they mine Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're actually going to be rewarded in Spark, right? And there's other things too. You do have some of these miners, they'll still have the option, on their devices or with their supercomputers, right, to get more Bitcoin. But if they choose to get into this network, they can actually earn Flare.
That's great. I want to put this up real quick. This is Alex D Vlogs, who's an awesome YouTuber as well. He's makes me laugh when I need to laugh too. He says, Jeff and Chip on the chain, best interviews ever, XRP for life. I don't give an F how you spend your money, which I love what he says at the end. When he says that at the end, that's the greatest thing ever, man. I don't give an F. I mean, so it's there's a lot of different people that different things that are going with like here Pack Global, which you guys know David Gokhshtein is the CEO of. He said they announced their strategic partner with Flare Networks. In the future, validators will be hosted on the Pack network to expand many Flare use case opportunities. And we had David on the show not too long ago. He's gonna come back on the show again too, because we want to dig a little bit more into this Pack thing. But it's really great to see the ecosystem sort of growing. We see XRP, we see Ether, we see there's a whole bunch of things that are being integrated into Dogecoin, Litecoin. It's phenomenal what's happening with Flare. So Flare Finance immediately, so you said some of the percentages right now are kind of crazy town, right? Because it's early days, and some people are going to do pretty well, but what do we see from a long-term standpoint? What do you anticipate?
Hey man, I wish I could shine up that crystal ball and predict the future.
Well, just give us your opinion, man. I know it's chatting. I know it's like I put you on the spot, but I'm just like, are we guessing like somewhere in the 3 to 5% range, as much as 10%, 12, 15? I mean, it seems like the opportunity's there, and I guess it's gonna depend largely on kind of what unfolds, right?
Yeah, I would say they'll probably be better than BitTrue.
Oh wow,
and,
interesting.
And Nexos and Voyager, Binance. I love Binance. And Coinbase. You're getting 7%, I believe, on Texos and Algorand. You're getting another 5.3%. I think when you use USD, I think you also get like a percentage, right? I think they'll probably be a little bit better than some of these contenders. And what that's going to do, that's just going to bring people to the network, man. When people see that you get a consistent swap, you're getting no drop-offs, like what I talked about with Ethereum. 100% transactions go through, right? And then we also see how they're trading in their assets and they're earning Spark. That's just going to bring in, and I'm not just talking about the retailer. Wouldn't you guys agree? Like when it comes to some of these institutions and banks, they're going to come into the space because they're going to see they're going to see the consistency when it comes to the money. Here you have this X-ray tech, right? I'm talking about it on your platform. They're going to see this X-ray tech is doing this stuff, right? This artist X-ray tech is trying to do stuff. Okay, we need to get into this space, right? and we need to start turning our millions into billions.
That's right on.
It's a great statement. Hey, here's something, and I think about this a lot. Also, you get into the DeFi space, decentralized. Who's really able to control, potentially manipulate it. But Noah Starr brings up a point here, guys. How is this different than the BitConnect, LendConnect, lending Ponzi schemes from a couple years ago? They promised compound interest too. I believe, to start that off and get your feedback on it, that it was more centralized in that case, and they were the ones kind of orchestrating a Ponzi scheme versus putting it more into a DeFi space where it's not really governed by one centralized entity. But I could be mistaken.
Yeah, shout out to Noah Star. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, doubt in the space. Wouldn't you guys agree? A lot of people, we've seen Ponzi schemes, we've seen coins die, right? We've seen ICOs that went, they've done whatever they've done, right? But we're talking about something. It's a little bit different, guys. We know many people in the XRP community, they've seen Ponzi, they've seen fake, right? We're talking about something that's real. Now, if BitTrue, Coinbase, Nexos, all these other platforms can do it, why couldn't XRP, why couldn't Flare and Flare Finance do something, right? So one thing I would really encourage, like with you guys, will we be able to put the Discord and also the Flare Finance in the show's notes?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
You wanted to send that?
Put that in the description.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend just getting into the space, getting into the Discord.
Toss it in the chat right there if you can. Just for now, toss it in the chat so people have it.
Yeah.
And then we'll add it to the description. So on playback, so just come back in a little bit. We'll make sure that it's there. So that's a great idea. Yeah, we'll throw that up right up top there.
Yeah, and ask questions. Ask questions. Just get into the network. You're going to get into some of these Discords. You're going to see developers. You're going to see programmers. You're going to see bankers. You're going to see people from, I think I got into a discussion with a guy. He was in Saudi Arabia, right? So it's a really exciting space, that we're talking about. People, some of these retail investors, but also bankers, right? A wide variety. Forgive me, did Joni ask the question?
Yeah, Joni had a question. She said, hey, if we're not able to figure out how to stake our Flare, can we just sell those puppies? I think she's talking mostly about the Spark token. I'm not sure what it's going to all be worth with all this work at my age. And that's an interesting question. Because, some people could think, oh, my gosh, this is complicated. But the thing about Flare, though, if you want to field that one, Channing, because I think there's a way to take that and earn, right?
Yeah, so in BitTrue and also Poloniex, many people who owned XRP when the snapshot was taken on December 12th, they're actually seeing it live right now. They're seeing some of the flare. But now those prices will not reflect things when they actually go live. Okay. So I think we're seeing I didn't get a chance to look. I try not to look at the prices too much. I just focus in on quantity. But yeah, I think the Spark was going at about 60 cents, I believe. I think it jumped up to 60 cents. In BitTrue. Now Poloniex, I think there was a different price. I think it was like 20 cent or something like that.
You're talking about the Flare IOU.
Yeah, the IOU.
IOU.
That one, I don't even get that.
Yeah. So that's just an IOU that's just showing with BitTrue, since they made a partnership, that basically that's showing your percentage that you had in BitTrue or Poloniex at that time. That's your 50% after the end of Q1, early Q2 that you'll be receiving, right? The amount, the quantity that you'll be receiving. That's not reflecting the actual price. Right,
not the value.
So,
but that is a value in Spark. They're giving you an IOU with a predictive value based on people buying and selling those IOUs. And right now we're at like a 60 cent, like you said, 60 cents, whatever it is, on BitTrue. But that's dangerous, because it could end up coming out. It's going to launch potentially at zero, and then start adding value as it grows. But here's a kind of a follow-up to that. where Dawn is bringing this up. I think this is a really excellent question, because the one thing that we're all concerned about are, taxable events and being able to track everything. One, that airdrop with Spark, the way we talked about it last week, it's possibly dropping with zero value, then no gain. But is that still taxable to you, or is it only taxable when you sell it? But here, U.S. IRS, how are we going to track all these different swaps and trades and income gains or losses in the DeFi space? When you're doing all this, I think they'll come for sure. But there are on the exchanges, they're able to do that. On the DeFi, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be a D app added onto it where you can start tracking. For tax purposes, you can get a some sort of a transaction report, something simplified. But right now, maybe there is, maybe there isn't something on there. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, so I got a chance to talk to my accountant, and he did tell me, unfortunately, that when we receive the actual forks, that's a taxable event. So unfortunately, we I should say unfortunately. Hey, you give me free
It's a good
money,
problem to have.
right? You give me free
It's a
money.
good problem to have, right?
It's a taxable event, and when it comes to the swaps, that is a taxable event also, right? But the thing is hey, look, we're getting money, right? We're getting free money. Now, if I were to give you $100, would you turn that down?
No, hell no, man. I'll take it all day long. And guys, I just wanted to say it's getting to that moment in time where I want to remind everybody to subscribe, click that bell, smash that thumbs up, and that way when we drop the videos. I've been really happy with. I dropped in there a little bit ago to the actual On the Chain podcast, which is, I'll drop it in there again. That way you guys can go over there, click there, just subscribe, because there may be a time where you miss one of the live shows. You're driving somewhere, you want to kill some time, you want to be able to bring us with you, and then you don't have to deal with the whole YouTube experience. And you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Google or Spotify or Stitcher, whatever you like, whatever your personal preferences. And I definitely want to thank Channing for coming on here, because Channing, we actually talked about DeFi this time, which the first 3 times we hadn't talked about that. So I want to thank you for coming on. Really, really great having you coming on here and sharing your expertise, and one of the great supporters of the show and community members. And yeah, thanks for that, man.
Yeah, man, happy to do it, man. And special shout out to all of the moderators, who've helped me get through this space. And I just want to encourage everyone, if you get a chance, get into that Discord, get into actually making use of the Flare Finance Network. One final thing, it was stated that in the private beta that actually happened, many of those people who participated in that, they actually received an NFT, a Samurai NFT. And when I talked to Indy, he said that one actually sold, that NFT actually sold on OpenSea for about $14,000.
Say what?
Yeah, it was also reported that one of those NFTs actually got put back on the market for over $1 million as well. So now, when we're participating in the Flare Finance, they're going to reward some of the top 250 people with Samurai NFTs. So when we see this gold market happening with the actual Flare NFT world, it's exciting. And when you get into the Discord, another nugget, they're going to reward you as you perform certain tasks in different coins. So I looked at, I was looking at the Discord. I was like, what? Like, I'm actually getting rewarded in coins for participating inside of the Discord network. So, some BTC, some XRP, some Doge, right?
Nice.
So just get active, check it out. And when the actual system really goes live, even if you don't get an NFT, at least you'll have the knowledge and understanding of how to actually get things going.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, I love it. I like the idea. I think the next step, we'll set up, like we're talking about, we're going to be doing this meetup on March 28th. We'll be sending out details on that this week. again as we progress through the week. So stay tuned for that. But this is a topic that I think would be phenomenal to workshop in that environment, because then we can do breakaway sessions, and each table could talk about a different aspect of this and maybe some assistance. But this is an evolving project that I want to get more heavily involved in. It just seems like there's just so much. There's so much to learn in this DeFi space, and Chip and I have been talking about it, a lot. But anyhow, Channing, man, it was awesome that you came on with us today. I really appreciate the time spent. Appreciate everybody else that's here with us as well. You guys take your evenings out to spend an hour with us, every day. So appreciate you guys for doing that as well. And as we said before, if you're brand new to the channel here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the chain with Chip and Jeff.
Boom. And there we go. So Channing, hang around a little bit because we're going to get that stuff. Guys, shortly we'll put that down in the description. Those links you guys can follow. So that's it. That's all we have. We'll see you on the next one.
Let's go.
Channing, get that lit. All right.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.